Welcome to the Clopen Effect, a retail podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us today. I'm your host, Meredith.
And I'm your host, Cass.
Let's have some fun.
Are you ready?
Well, happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday.
You absolutely spoiled me. You and Bestie absolutely spoiled me. You surprised me on Friday.
I like how your husband was super pissed that we wouldn't let him pay for dinner.
Oh my gosh. He's just not used to people paying for him.
I know.
I mean, it bothered him still on Sunday morning.
I'm sure it did. And I was like, you're just going to have to deal with it.
He went to go mention it again on Sunday. He goes, that was so nice. And Julia's like, nope. Like, we're not going to have this conversation. I think we both just kept making breakfast or something. Like, don't worry about it. So you both come over, and Johnny.
Yeah.
And the family's ready. My family even knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And Friday night,
and you were
guys
like, come
over.
on, let's go. Don't we have to leave? Aren't we going
and you're
really
like,
far
calm
away?
it down. I kept thinking it was like a cruise in Lake Geneva.
Yeah.
Even better. You were like, no, we just have to go into
town.
And I was like, wait, the only cool thing in town
I was so
is
pissed
an
that you
escape
guessed it.
room. And your face was big, and you kind of looked back and forth, and you were like, did you just guess that?
Because I can't lie. I'm a terrible liar.
No, same.
So even if I was like, no, that's not where we're going. Like, I couldn't lie. That's what it would sound like if I said it.
And then Bestie's behind you shaking her head. No, that's not it. She's
and
good.
I'm just looking, somebody help me. Yeah. So
and you're like, you didn't know? But that was so cool. I have never done one before. I know that was your second time in a different room.
Yes. I mean, I did it a long time. I probably did it like 4 years ago.
That was cool.
We had so much fun.
I have a story real quick, but actually I have two stories. The first story is I was telling Steven about it. And so I'm telling him about this escape room. And he's like, oh, is that the place across from like Sherwin-Williams where Dad used to pick up paint? And I go, yeah, it's that same place.
Yeah.
He goes, I went there in high school. We did it as like a team building for improv or whatever. And then he goes, yeah, we had to he said something about being like on a theater or in a theater. I said, oh, we were backstage. And he goes, I did the same one.
Did he get out?
And they got out.
Really?
Within an hour. Smart young adults. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Small
we ran
world.
out of time, and they were like,
Do you want more time?
I felt like we were only halfway through, and truly we were only about halfway through.
So they allowed us an hour and 48 minutes.
Yeah, I think so.
But we did have some lulls, which I thought was kind of weird because very smart people. There was 6 or 7 of us.
Yeah.
All with different backgrounds, all that could figure this out. And somehow we went into these lulls where we just didn't know what to do next.
Didn't know what to do next.
They would give us a hint and all of us would look at the iPad like, means nothing, means nothing. My second story is we were at an hour and 46 minutes and they have a puzzle. I'm not going to mention it.
Yeah.
Go there. It's called Twisted Limits in
Yeah.
McHenry. They have a puzzle at the end and you have to figure it out, right? And to put in a code to crack the case, right? And so Johnny,
my husband,
is looking at all these different this board, and he was like, he's doing the math on it because you have to do math. And you and I walked away. We don't do math.
I'm the reader. That's why I married a math person.
Well, I actually do math, but hearing him talk, and then Bestie was talking, and they were figuring it out too. I had to walk away. It was just too many numbers. So he's going 21, 9, 7, and I'm just like in my mind, I'm like, what is he doing? He ain't gonna figure this out. And he looks over and he goes, try 2.
Yeah.
And that was the first part of the code. And sure as shit, it worked.
It worked.
He knew it.
He got it.
He got it.
He saved it. He came in clutch.
He said whatever the code was, and I'm just like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Beep. It opened. We went over to the other room, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
We got out, yeah.
I was so impressed.
So my favorite part of that night was about halfway through.
Yeah.
When we were just about to run out of time. We can't even talk about it because it's so funny. So the guys gave up, right?
Yeah, they gave up. They were
like, we're sitting down. We're going to let you guys figure this out. We had enough. Hi, Drew. Drew's here.
We started without you, Drew. We're telling a very funny story. So hold on, and then we're going to introduce you.
Yeah, go ahead. Take a seat.
Yay! We're going to have her finish this story real quick.
So the guys are sitting in there, and we're in the other room, so we can see on the camera that they're just sitting there chit-chatting, right?
Yeah, right.
So we went to dinner afterwards, right? And in the car, on the way to dinner, your husband said, oh, man, I farted while we were in there.
And it's close quarters. There's 4 rooms, but you're pretty like you're next to each other. You're real close. It is definitely and family building.
And Johnny said to me, "Did you fart?" And he goes, and I lied, and I said no. So here we're all thinking that he smelled it, right?
Right.
So later, after we got home from dinner, because when did you tell us that story?
I probably told you when we went out after we dropped the guys off on Friday. So it must have been the next day.
It must have been the next day. I say to Johnny. Because
you already knew the story.
Yeah. I say to Johnny, I said, "So Steve farted, huh?" And he goes, "Yeah, I thought it was just the theater chair making noise." So I asked him if he farted, and he said no. He never smelled it. He heard something.
That is so...
He goes, and it was freaking loud.
Disgusting. So
I started laughing, and I was like, "He thought you smelled it. That's why you knew." And then he felt bad that he lied to you. Like, why did I lie about farting?
Later on, he's not a liar as well. So he told him no, and then they were doing something else with like a combination. And he goes, "Well, Johnny, you didn't like the smell of that fart?" And Johnny just started laughing.
While Drew was here.
Hi, Drew.
Hello.
We're going to put it on pause so that you can get all situated. So we'll be right back.
And I can explain you all the cool, fun presents I brought.
Yay.
All right.
I thought your car would be a lot cleaner now that you don't work at my job anymore.
Is it still messy?
It is cleaner, but I would not go so far as to say it's clean. Yeah, I have the crumply ASMR in the background for everybody. Because what podcast is complete without that,
So Drew brought treats.
He brought lots of presents.
Because unlike certain people from like pasta places, I show up with food.
Poor Craig, he's never going to live that one down.
He's never going to live it down. So what did you bring us?
So first and foremost, because I follow this really cool page on Facebook called The Clopen Effect, Retail Podcast.
I'll have to check it out.
And they were talking about how this week on their podcast, they were going to talk about Halloween around the world. Mm-hmm. And so I figured we couldn't talk about Halloween without bringing up Dia de los Muertos, which is what's kind of on par for Halloween in a lot of Mexican culture. And so a thing that's very common is they have a thing called pan de muerto. It literally means bread of the dead.
Oh.
And in pan de muerto, traditional. So I stopped at a bakery on the way here, but they don't have it yet. I don't know if they're just out today or they just don't have it quite yet this early because theirs isn't October 31st. Theirs is November 1st and 2nd.
Oh, okay.
So it's off a little bit. It lines up with All Saints and All Souls Day, which blends really well to like Mexican Catholic tradition.
Okay.
But in a true pan de muerto, the bread is actually shaped like a human with their arms crossed in front of them.
Stop.
Yeah, which is why it's called bread of the dead, right?
Okay.
But this is pretty similar to what it would be like. It's a very sweet bread with a lot of that sugar on it. It's just very common. So if you want to try some, that's more or less what pan de muerto would taste like.
It looks like it's like rolled up too.
Yeah, so that's not normal for pan de muerto, but this is just the closest I could get that they had in stock at the moment.
It's sugary.
Yes, it's very, very sugary. Like it's a very, very sweet bread.
It's good though. It's got lots of layers, like a croissant almost, but like denser.
At first, I thought it was a croissant when he pulled it out of the bag.
No, that one's mildly croissant-y.
Yeah, that is.
Again,
yeah.
I genuinely have no idea what that filling is, and my Spanish wasn't good enough to understand her when she asked me, or when I asked and she answered. So I don't know what's in there, so I'm going to find that out later.
She answered you, and you were like, yeah, okay,
so what do you think the pink is now? So it kind of looks like a croissant, sort of. They're a little bit longer.
It's just a colored sugar.
And it's just a colored sugar, okay.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just colored sugar that they put on it.
Yeah. Wow, amazing.
But it's really, really good. And so the way it works is they don't, from everything I've ever researched, I'd like to point out, I was not born and raised in Mexico. This is all stuff I've had to study from learning Spanish. You learn about the culture of countries that speak Spanish. And so in Dia de los Muertos, it's not about sadness of death. It's about rejoicing in the life, that they don't view life as ending when you die. You simply have life in a new world, in the next world. Yeah. And so you'll see things very often where death is present, but not overwhelming.
Yeah.
So you'll see a lot of skeletons about doing just normal human things. I was talking to my mom on the way here about, you'll see like a mariachi band, but they're all skeletons because they're still doing the same thing in the next life.
Right.
There's a movie that came out on Disney a couple years ago. Fantastic movie. Does a really great job of kind of going over a lot of the highlights about what it is like. One of the weirdest things from an American perspective is, would you, on Halloween night, let's say, we'll make it Americanized, October 31st, would you like to, you and your husband, your whole family, you're going to go to a cemetery and just eat dinner in the graveyard?
Yeah, that's kind of... little weird.
But that's what that's normal for them. They'll set up these altars called ofrendas, and they'll put like a lot of pictures of all their deceased. Typically, it's either at the most recently deceased, or like if it was a big patriarch or matriarch of the family, they'll do that. You know, like just like a real cornerstone of the family.
Movie?
The movie's called Coco.
Yeah.
It was really great because they showed the ofrendas. They showed all about the marigolds, that they decorate these huge ofrendas.
Yeah.
And you literally would just eat dinner in the cemetery because you're having a family dinner.
Yeah.
And that's where they are. So you just eat dinner with your family. But when you grow up with that's the norm, because death isn't sad. Death is, I mean, when a person dies, you are sad because you miss them, but you're not overwhelmingly sad because there's the next life after.
Right.
And that's where they kind of put a lot of the emphasis on that. And so it's a fantastic tradition. So I wanted to try to stop at a bakery, pick up some little sweet pan de muerto to bring in, but I have a near approximation of it. And I just can't look at a 4 or 5 inch cookie without getting it.
I know. Those cookies are amazing.
I'm a 6'4" child.
Is that so? Did you stop at the one on 120?
No, Green Street.
Oh,
it's like right by the movie theater downtown.
I went to the one on 120 by the Salvation Army and Tacos El Norte. There's one, La Michoacana.
Yes.
I've been there. They have some similar items.
Mm-hmm. A lot of it's pretty common across it. But just this is the one I've always gone to for pan de muerto. La Michoacana is the one I always go to for I always like their custards and like not the custard, like their frozen custard ice cream stuff.
Yeah.
So good. I was at one in Woodstock. I was on the square at the Opera House and I went out for drinks afterwards. I'm like, well, I need to waste some time before I can drive. So we went there and they have a tres leches ice cream. Ooh, oh, it's so good.
That sounds good.
Oh, it's so good.
Amazing.
Delicious.
So now we're going to flip to England because they don't celebrate the
They
life
don't celebrate?
after.
Oh.
On the evening of November 5th.
Oh, their Halloween is late too.
This is from history.com or Droogle.
Droogle.
Have you heard of this? This is called Guy
Fawkes
Day.
Remember the 5th of
England.
November, the gunpowder treason and plot, though I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason should e'er be forgot. No, I'm not Droogle. What are you talking about?
Oh my God. He knows everything.
Haven't you ever seen V for Vendetta?
So it's actually...
I have.
V for Vendetta is about Guy Fawkes.
I've never seen all of it. Like, I've seen parts of it. I know it's bad.
So it's,
I knew better
to
than
commemorate
to ask her if she's seen a movie.
the execution of the notorious Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, so because he was...
the notorious English traitor.
Yes.
But was he a traitor?
I believe so. He was trying to like blow up the House of Parliament.
Okay, but was he a traitor?
I mean, we just dumped tea in the ocean. We didn't have to blow up Parliament, you know?
So where Mexico celebrates fun stuff with candy, pictures, bread, and smiley face cookies.
Well, the smiley face cookies aren't. That's not Dia de los Muertos. That's called Drew like smiley face
England's
cookies.
a little bit different.
So what do? They still go trick-or-treating, though?
I don't think so.
Are they celebrating him?
They are not
are
celebrating
they
him.
just...
They are not celebrating him. In Ireland, someone give me their best...
Ireland, they eat potatoes?
Someone give me their best...
Brilliant or something.
You knew what I was talking about.
Oh, I knew you meant accent. I just was not going to offend an entire country.
I was waiting for like someone to give me a song or whatever.
Oh, it's Peter O'Toole. Oh, I'm the lucky leprechaun. They always after me Lucky Charms.
All right, that's St. Patrick's Day. So this is Halloween. It's celebrated much like the U.S.
Okay.
So they still go trick-or-treating.
And you probably get potatoes instead of apples.
Yeah, they have many games that they play, including Snap Apple. It's a game in which an apple on a string is tied to the doorframe or a tree, and players attempt to bite the hanging apple. So what is that other one in the bucket?
Bobbing
for apples? They don't do that in Ireland. We used to do that when I was a young ladette.
Ladette? I believe that's called a lass.
Ladette.
No, I was very tomboyish. I'm going to say ladette.
A ladsy.
So have you heard of barnbrock? Barnbrock? It's a kind of fruitcake that can be bought in stores or baked at home in Ireland, and that's their traditional food that they eat. Did you bring any of that?
I did not bring fruitcake.
No, that's a Christmas thing. We'll have fruitcake at Christmas.
And that is the only countries that History.com gave me.
Stop it. Nowhere else celebrates?
Well, I think they do. That's just the only ones that they gave us for now.
I was trying to do a little bit of research, and then I went to work this morning, so I ran out of time.
Hey, talking about work.
Yeah, because you don't work with me no mo.
No, I wisened up on that one.
Ditched out on us.
I'm like, wait, I still remember it was, I finished the first week at my new job, and I called up someone from that company, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just went an entire week on one tank of gas.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
I was
filled up
filling up
yesterday
3
and
times
today.
a week.
Yeah.
How many miles
Yeah.
do you have on your car?
Oh gosh, I don't even know anymore.
It's a lot, right?
Well, because like my car is janky.
Janky.
So it was fine until I hit a raccoon, and so now I have some error messages. But that was
yeah.
like years ago. So it won't show me my mileage as I'm driving,
Oh.
and I just can't be bothered to fix it because like that's not that important.
Right.
There's more important things that I need to get fixed, so that's higher up.
Like getting your oil changes.
I got shiny new rims though, so you know
Oh,
that's
that's
nice.
good. I always laugh when I go get an oil change. You know, they give you the mileage and then they give you like the approximate date. And it's like 4 months from now. And I just laugh like, see you next month, jerks.
Yeah, because for mine, they would put me at the 3 months or 3,000 miles.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'll see you in 3 months, but that's 10,000 miles. Ooh, I forgot. I still have my watch around my ankle.
Or does it count in your steps?
Yeah, so at work, I'm not allowed to wear jewelry because it's a food manufacturing facility, so you have to have all jewelry off. So I slightly look like I'm on probation because I strap my Fitbit around my ankle. It looks like it's a tracking monitor.
I saw a TikTok
As long
of
as I make it home by 5.
Someone was making a video of people at the pool.
Yeah.
And the guy had his ankle monitor, like his foot up with the ankle monitor outside of the pool, but they were all like hanging out. And they're like,
Yeah, I'm easily distracted. I was like, why is my ankle so itchy? So yeah, so I have a new job now. I work producing food to send to starving children all over the world.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's a charity I've worked with for ages and ages and ages now, almost 11 years
you used
now.
to volunteer there, right?
Yeah, I volunteered there. So it started about 11 years ago where I volunteered once every couple of months. When I was in college the first go round, I'd have a group of friends of us. We would all go out there and we'd be there like all day. Because I didn't like the drive at the time. Because at the time, I thought 45 minutes was
a long drive.
Such a long drive. Right? And so we'd be there like 12 hours. And we would just volunteer the whole day.
Can I just say I drove an hour and a half to work this morning?
I think I drove an hour and a half
40 minutes
total today. And it's so great. Which is nice, though, because when I do close now, it's like a 40-minute drive. But if I'm opening, it's like a 60-minute drive.
Yeah, because traffic.
Is it bad that I just drove to Starbucks and back today? That was it.
Shut up, bitch.
I do have one coworker. He has an 8-year-old car, and it has like 20,000 miles on it.
Oh my gosh, I used to be like that.
But he lives like 10 minutes away. And I'm like, why don't you just walk? We've got one guy like literally bikes to work.
Yeah.
Canceled his gym membership and bikes to work. And like, they're win-win.
Nice. You know what, though? When we worked at the store where we all met, I lived pretty close. And I was like, I should just ride my bike to work. I don't want to go in there all sweaty.
I used to, though, because at the place where we all met, I was still in high school. So I would bike to school. So then I'd bike home, change into my work gear, and then bike to work.
Oh, God.
Luckily, my dad would pick me up at the end of my shift, and I just throw the bike in the back of the truck and go home so I didn't have to bike home in the dark.
Every morning when I leave for work, there is, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, but it is literally like 5:25, 5:15. I see him going down this dark ass country road with no, there's no street lights.
My goodness.
There's no sidewalk, and they're just biking in the morning. They have a front light, a headlight, and a flashing rear light. But I'm like, I don't trust these people on the road.
Nope.
I get so scared for that person in the morning.
Yeah.
And they're literally riding away from the bike trail. Get on the fucking trail.
Yeah.
You can ride it like so far, but maybe they're going to work
Right,
and it's not
right.
going past their work, you know, but I worry so much for that person.
Honestly, the bike trail, too, because it's right along the train tracks, there's only so many entrances and exits to it.
Yeah.
Because only so many roads they'll cross.
Yeah.
So I do my loop all the time, and there's a gentleman that bikes, and I have seen him 1,000 times. He has yet to say hello to me.
Really?
I say good morning every morning. He just puts his eyes over at me, watches me run past, or he rides past me basically because he's faster, and then he just keeps going. I'm like, one of these times he's going to say good morning
You should
to me.
just kick his tire.
And he doesn't have anything in his ears. I'm the one with the podcast in my ears. I should just kick his tires.
Throw a stick in
Well,
his
he's across
tire.
the street, because he's
I'm
going.
sure you could throw a
yeah.
stick in his fucking tire from across the street.
Actually,
How
come to
hard
think of it,
can you
he's
throw a
not
stick?
across the street because he's going with, and I have to go against.
Yeah.
I feel like if she does this
So I
every
wonder
day,
if he
she should
sees
know
me
what
and he
side of the
crosses
street he's on.
street. I was gonna say.
It depends on if she's looping or coming
Or
back
looping.
around.
Right. Wow. I'm gonna get him though. I'm gonna let you guys know. I'm gonna let you know.
Stay tuned for the
Yeah.
update.
Just throw
Next
a big
week on the
stick
Clopen
over there.
effect.
So what did you
Meredith
bring over
finally
here
needs-
in this box? I know you brought us treats, but what else did you bring us?
So this one is actually a sample of kind of the food that we package
Oh,
at
wow.
our site.
Can I look at this whole box?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
So the whole point of it's kind of like to take it home and share it because you can't normally buy the food. This is very
Can I see it?
specific. Yeah. a very specific instance in which you can.
So it says that it's rice. It's a rice and soy blend. Is it just rice and soy then?
No, so there's a vitamin mixture that we use as well.
Okay.
So the main reason for rice is it's very simple. If you notice, Meredith, what language is that bag in?
English.
Oh.
Yeah, guess what language isn't spoken literally in every country around the world?
English.
And so rice, no matter what language they speak, everybody sees rice and they know how to cook it. It truly, it doesn't, it is across all
the pictures
all
are
countries.
actually really good too.
Yes,
It says, like,
it's also in the metric system, which I love because down with the imperial system.
What language is this below though?
I can't remember exactly which one's which.
Because that's definitely not one I've seen.
Right, so there are different languages spoken in the big countries that we send to.
Because on the top it says donated product not for sale, but then there's 3 other lines in different language.
It's just the same stuff in each language there.
Yeah.
So where you work, I can like take a group of my friends and like book a day to.
And I have been trying to get our old company to join us since I got the job.
So you mean I have to say something?
Oh no, I've been talking to the.
So I'm going to go back
there.
to this bag. It's 13.2 ounces net weight. And it's rice and soy. So how many people does this serve for?
So that one bag is actually 6 meals. That's almost an entire week's worth of food.
1 cup, serving size, 1 cup prepared, and this is 6 servings per bag.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's pretty cool.
So it's really fun.
And it has a lot of carbs, which they need. They need energy,
Yeah.
right? A little bit of sodium.
A lot of it. There's actually like food scientists that work together to create
A little bit of
this
fat.
formula.
Yeah. Amazing.
But
amazing.
It's truly an amazing thing because, and you know, the world right now, not great. That we've got, key points we talk about at work too is you've got Somalia, which is on the Horn of Africa. They're at like their 5th year in a drought season, so there's just no food. I mean, there's pictures of like literally like 600,000 animals died in 1 year just because they can barely support themselves, let alone care. You know, if it's I'm going to live or my cow's going to live, it's going to be me. You know?
Right.
And then, of course, you've got the crisis in Ukraine. You've got political turmoil in Haiti and Myanmar and Thailand. It's just so bad that we're actually, I believe the United Nations actually came out and said it, that this is the worst level of food insecurity since World War II.
Wow.
And, you know, with crisis in Ukraine, one of the great things with my new job, right, is the first truck that left our warehouse after I got the job was going to Poland just to feed Ukrainian refugees. So it's one of those things where I liked my old job, but at this new job, there is not a day that goes by that I'm not like, I made the world better today. I made a difference.
Which is perfect for you. Because you've always, as long as I've known you, that's you.
When you told everybody that you were going there, I was like,
yep.
Oh my God, that's perfect. You know, like that's where he belongs.
I got a phone call from one of the managers and she's like, I just talked to you yesterday. Are we just keeping secrets now? Is that how this works? She goes, I can't even be mad at you because you're working at a charity.
Yeah.
Like you don't want children to die of starvation. Who can hate you for leaving us to do that?
Exactly.
That's excellent.
And that's the thing too, is everything about that food is designed for acceptability, because above everything else, above politics, above religion, above anything, it's the fundamental view is children should not die of hunger.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't care
Nobody
what
in the
religion
world
you are.
should.
Right.
We don't care what political affiliation you are.
What language you speak.
You should have food.
Yeah.
Nothing else changes the fact you should have food.
Right.
So it's rice because everyone knows how to cook it. Everybody recognizes it. It can be cooked just over with water boiling. You know, a lot of them,
you
they don't have
everybody
kitchen.
knows how to cook rice, and I am terrible at cooking rice.
I've had some pretty sticky sushi rice.
Sushi rice is supposed to be sticky.
No. I'm talking like mushy sticky.
Like it was stuck to the pan.
Okay, fine. But culturally, people
knew we
know
were gonna
rice
give him a
is-
hard time.
I think
Right.
anybody but my
That's
super
possible.
white ass knows how to
So
cook rice.
I want you to go through the process from beginning to end, but I do have a question. What do they use to cook the rice in? Now we know what we have here at the house,
And,
but
and that's the other reason
Yeah,
for it, right? Because
yeah.
if you're thinking pasta, you need something to strain the water with and everything like that. Whereas rice, it's literally, they'll just have like just a metal bowl basically and just put it over an open fire. They don't have gas lines. They
I've
don't have
watched
electric.
enough TikToks. I've seen people get pretty creative
Yeah.
with their cooking vessels.
yeah.
And they'll literally like dish it out. They'll just like take a bowl and just slop it into other
Yeah.
things. I don't want to say
Yeah.
slop, but like, you know, that's
Yeah.
how they serve it up. They don't
Scoop it
have
up.
Scoop it up, yeah.
And like they'll a lot of times this is served at school and this is the really mind-blowing thing, right? like I said, there's 6 meals in that bag. You're only getting 1 a day.
Yeah.
Because they're so malnourished. If you ate that whole thing, it would probably kill you.
Right.
Yeah, your
much food all of
stomach
a
would
sudden.
just expand.
And so regularly you get a meal at lunch at school. That's you for a lot of these kids, that's your meal a day. That's what you get. Which is why COVID was so bad. Schools had to shut down.
Yeah.
They didn't get their meal a day. And so with schools reopening, they're able to get food again. And we were on track. The World Health Organization is trying to end, there's like 16 goals that they have for, I think it's 2050. And one of them is world hunger. They also have, access to fresh water, stuff like that. And so it's these 16 key goals. And we were on track, like a lot of these countries that I do research for, everything's going well, it's going great, and then 2020 hit, and everything just slid right back.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make up lost ground for that. But you'll see these pictures of they're at a school, and it's a woman literally with like a baby strapped to her, and she'll have just this giant pot and like a boat oar to stir it with, and they're just cooking food for the entire school.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And it's one of those things where my job has this real fine line between really depressing to see how things are at in the world, but it's also paired with but we're
making
we're helping make that better.
Yeah.
Where it's not like you see something, you're like, well, there's nothing I can do. I feel so helpless, because it's just highlighting just how important what you're doing is.
How many years have they been around? About
25?
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
that's good.
No. 35.
35. I remember them.
I forget the 90s isn't 10 years ago. So
I remember oh my gosh. Why is that?
Sick.
I know, it's so nice.
Sick.
The most amazing thing about where I work is that it's just the most positive work environment I've ever had. We have quarterly goals that we have to do.
And they still hired you, huh?
I know, right? It's amazing. I'm like, someone was kind of slacking that day. But
No.
So we have these quarterly check-in goals. Everyone has these. Every quarter, you have to check in with your direct superior. And not really direct report.
Sure.
Not direct superior, but direct
Slop
report.
superior.
Yeah. I'm just, and I haven't even been drinking yet. Jeez. And it's the sugar, I'm telling you. And so, I met with my boss, and he's like, so how are things going? I'm like, I really think I'm getting used to this well. And he's like, no. How are things going? How's your life? How are you? Like, we're not to work yet. Just how are you as a person? It's like, I know you're in school. Are you school going okay? And I was like, yeah, school's going great. It's like, okay. Now, how are you doing here?
Yeah. Love it.
And I was like, I think I'm learning good. He's like, okay, so here's how this works. Quarterly goal check-in is this. First question he actually asked me was, what do you need from me to stay motivated here? That was question number 1.
Have you ever heard that question?
No.
He goes, my job is to make sure that you have what you need to stay successful and to stay motivated. That's my job for you. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Weird.
I don't know how to handle this. Like,
Yeah.
I think I was visibly uncomfortable in that interview.
Wow.
Because I'm like, I don't understand this.
You're like, wait, aren't I just supposed to?
Listeners, there are jobs out there that will ask you these questions.
I know,
Yeah.
right? And and I had one where I'm actually forklift trained now. So I get to use the forklift, and I was on it, and this was still one of the first times I was on it, and I messed up. I was driving the forklift, and I stabbed it into one of the boxes. The blade went right into the box of finished food, and so I parked the forklift. I got out. I went to get my boss. He was on a call. I'm like, hey, I just hit something with the forklift, and he goes, I'll call you back, hangs up, and follows me out. And he's like, okay. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry, I was doing this. I'm like, I know I shouldn't have done this. He's like, it's fine. I go, but I just hit something. He goes, that just means you're practicing.
Yeah.
He goes, and we have someone who her whole job is running the warehouse side of things. So she's constantly getting the food in and out and all that and moving everything around. He goes, she's 90% of the accidents on the forklift. But I don't care because she's on it 95% of the time. I expect her to be the one having the majority of the accidents.
Yeah.
And it's just that different mindset of like, oh, you're using things. Eventually something's going to break or go wrong. Mm-hmm. And it's just such a positive work experience.
You know what? So I think I talked about this before, but I'll mention it again. I was reading like a Reddit blog about, people who have worked both sides. They've worked like retail waitressing jobs where you're making minimum wage and you don't have benefits and this and that. And it's just like kind of a terrible job. And then they've worked these, pretty well-paying jobs where the company makes millions of dollars and they take pretty good care of their employees. And it's like at the minimum wage job, they fuck up and it's like this huge disappointment.
Yeah.
And at this, they can fuck up like, oh my God, I just lost the company $50,000. And they're like, nah, well, you know, you live and you learn.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like,
let's not do that again.
So
but
different.
Yeah.
So different.
So, and Julia will back me up on this because it's the class that we have together. One of my business teachers, he talks about the story of, I believe it was Henry Ford. And this guy, he screwed up badly, like cost Ford like $200 million, not $200,000. But this was back in like the 60s.
So
right?
it was like $200 million.
And like it was a lot of money. It was a huge amount of money. And so the guy, like, he walked up to Henry Ford with his letter of resignation. It's like, I'm so sorry. Here you go. And he's like, I'm not accepting this. He goes, but I just messed up. He goes, yeah, I have a $200,000 investment. You're not going to do that again.
Yeah.
You've learned your. I'm like,
lesson.
He's like, are you going to do that again? He's like, no. He goes, then why are you leaving?
Yeah.
And so it's that kind of a mindset that just like blows my mind. Like that's a thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I say that just to kind of set the stage for the work environment. Like it's a very.
Wasn't Henry Ford also the man who made like the 5-day work week instead of working 7 days a week because like he wanted them to have family time
at the
and
time,
stuff?
Well, so Henry Ford is a very savvy businessman, but also genuinely a horrible person as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
So he's done he's done a lot of really good things, but he never did it altruistically. He did it strictly from business. So at the time, Henry Ford paid more than anybody else did.
Right.
But it wasn't because he was generous. It was because he figured out, if I pay my people more than everybody else, I don't have turnover. And turnover is more expensive to me than those extra wages.
Yes.
Because I'll give you that extra $2 a day, whatever.
Right.
Because it saves me $50,000 a year in turnover costs. I don't have to train new people. I don't have to hire new people. You're good at what you do. You do it consistently. You're happier. You give me more productivity because of it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pay you more because I make more money that way.
Yeah.
So
Which
like,
is okay.
Like he did a lot of good things.
That's okay. That's like
and
hail
that's
capitalism,
business, you know? You know, and
Oh God.
I don't think I've ever used those words together
No.
before. But it's one of those things where he realized that things like that make sense.
Yeah.
You know, take care of your people. It's the fantastic, I want to say it's Richard Branson quote. Take care of your people.
Right.
They'll take care of your business.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's basically how he would run things. Don't get me wrong, he had this huge anti-union thing and the union busting and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
But
wasn't
just
the
talk
greatest
positive.
guy. But but he did a lot of really good things.
Right.
So that being said, I work for a great company. I do love it. And the way it works is it's a very informal type setting. You know, like I was just in a meeting today and they're like, a good team means that you can't tell who the boss is.
Mm-hmm.
That I've never heard that.
You know, that's
before.
how it is
really
at
good.
at my work. He walks the hallways and says good morning and hello and hangs out at lunch with us. And
well, we always say treat the CEO and the janitor the same, right? We respect them the same.
we respect the same. Yeah.
I can't remember what company there is, but there is a company out there where they have a corporate policy. It's like the law of 7 or something like that. The highest paid employee cannot make more than 7 times the lowest paid employee.
Oh wow.
Wow.
And so it keeps that level. So basically the CEO, he can make whatever raise he wants, but that means your minimum wage people, their pay's got to go up with it.
Right.
You know, can I mention this real quick? Because where we all used to work and meet, the managers would have a different color shirt.
Yes.
So customers learned that. And if they didn't like what the one colored shirt the team member was saying to them, they immediately would find the manager with the other color. And right before I left, they had changed that where you didn't have to do that.
Oh, really?
Everyone wore the same color. And now when you go in, you would never know who the manager is. And I think that's very good.
Yeah.
Everyone should be able to be trained enough that they can answer a customer, especially in retail and in grocery. Or anywhere really, you know, like
well, and that was always
food
my
service.
big bitch.
Everyone should be able to answer a question,
customer, right?
Take care of them.
like I shouldn't have to come out because you know I'm going to give them what they want.
Right. So just you do it as well. Like, oh, that's what you want? Okay, fine. You know, I mean, obviously a hostile situation, you're going to want to call your manager.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a good point.
Yeah.
I was just in a retail class and they had the discussion question.
There's classes about retail?
Yeah.
Yeah, Julia actually, I think she took something like that. She's been sharing it with me.
What made me mad was I'm like, I still have to take an intro to retailing class. I'm like, does 12 years of retail not count?
It should. You know, there's colleges out there that would.
Right
yeah,
now.
They take.
Done.
It was a quick 8-week class. I'm like, you know what? Whatever.
Hey, I got a vacuum later.
Oh,
Stop
sorry.
doing that. He's brushing all the crumbs off onto the floor.
That's what I get for eating while I'm on the podcast. But so I was in it, and they were like, "Is the customer always right?" That was the discussion question. And so here's the conclusion I came up with: the customer is always right, but a Karen never is.
Yeah.
Because and admit it, right? If when you're at
do
the
you know the
service
whole?
desk,
Do you know the whole?
so
saying?
you know, I've listened to the podcast. I've heard you say that. I've heard you say the customer is always right about manners of taste. Right. So I wanted to quote that in my discussion.
He really
post.
does listen to our podcast.
Yeah,
Every week. Well, not this week. So actually, I have a slight confession to make. I do listen every week. Every week you don't have one. I just listen to Any Way You Slice It again.
Oh my.
100%.
You mean you're not the one listening to Move Bitch Get Out the Way?
No, because I'm trying to
you.
get I'm trying to get Any Way You Slice It to
close.
rank it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, he wants to be number
I'm trying
one.
to top to number one again. So.
You know what?
Do you
and I
know-
just told somebody the other day, I gave him a card. I told him to listen, and I said, number 8, Move Bitch Get Out of the Way. I should be telling him your episode. Huh?
Yeah,
Right?
really.
'Cause I'm
All right.
hysterical.
You know
Come on.
who is top 10 are Paulie's too. The Paul,
Paul.
cousin
Our
Paul.
And happy birthday, Paul.
And happy birthday, Paul.
Yeah.
And he's top 10. So he's with you, but not number 1. For some reason, Move Bitch Get Out the Way is number
And
1.
I was number one for so long,
So
and then I lost
long.
it. It was
Yeah.
so
So
sad.
long.
I still remember
both
Meredith
of Paul's
texting
are on
me.
there, top 10. So happy 21st, Paul.
Happy birthday,
Woo!
Paul.
Happy hangover tomorrow.
I hope you're not working stacking potatoes.
Aw.
But yeah, so I was trying to quote that, right?
Yeah.
And so I was doing all this research to find out, is that where the quote came from? I could find nothing to support it.
Really?
So the quote is mainly attributed to Carlos Ritz, the guy from like putting on the Ritz, like
Yep.
the
Okay.
Yep.
Ritz Carlton,
Okay.
right? And he always, and his was, the customer is never wrong, or the customer is always right even when they're wrong.
Okay.
And that was his, because it's hotel. It's very high end hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just take care of them because the amount that they're paying you, it doesn't matter.
I don't remember
Right.
where I heard that, too.
And but it is commonly quoted,
Yeah.
but it's not. There's nothing I could find that showed that that's where it came from.
yeah.
So I have something I want to add on to that. So Coming to America is a movie with Eddie Murphy. I have seen it.
You know a movie?
Oh my
He-
gosh,
in the
everyone! It is the
beginning-
end of the world.
Hey, no, it's the end of the world because we got her to watch. Not only did we get her to watch Hocus Pocus, but Hocus Pocus 2.
Yep. I know. We had a
So
whole
I have
night
a
about it.
confession to make.
Did you watch
I haven't
it?
seen 2 yet.
Oh,
So in my defense,
Well,
I have
that's
seen the
okay.
first one, right?
That's okay.
I wanted to watch it with my mother, and I'm like, okay, cool. It's a Sunday afternoon. We both off. It'll be a nice, relaxing day. I'll hook my laptop up to the TV, and we'll watch Hocus Pocus 2. The audio would not work, and my speakers don't work in my laptop, and I'm like, I'm not watching Hocus Pocus 2 with both of us in headphones.
Wait, back to my story.
Yeah, so-
story.
yeah.
So-
Oh, sorry. Coming to America with
So
Eddie Murphy.
in the beginning, they choose a wife for him, and he says, "I want to talk to you." So they go into a smaller room, not in the church, and he says, "What do you like, or what And so he says, "So basically, you were raised to do whatever I say." And she said, whatever you want. Like, she likes whatever he wants. Okay, so it's kind of reminding me of retail, because then he says, "What if I tell you to bark like a dog?" And she goes, "Arf, arf." And then he says, "Jump up and down." And then she's going, "Arf, arf," and jumping up and down. That reminds me of the Ritz, like what you just said. Like, the customer's always right even when they're wrong. Like, do we have to entertain these customers?
No.
Like, they say, bark like a dog, jump up and down. Is that what
feel
we are
like-
to do? Like,
yeah.
where does it end?
I
Is
feel
my
like
question.
10
I
years
feel
ago,
like it's
it was better.
I don't know. I don't
you know
know
what I mean? I feel like 10 years ago, it wasn't so terrible. Like, yeah, maybe the customer would ask for a little more than they deserved every once in a while. Mm-hmm. But now they're just so out of hand.
And
Exactly.
it truly is my question. Where does it end? Are we
Yeah.
barking like dogs? Are we jumping up and down because the customer is always right
Yeah.
even when they're wrong? And that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of that scene.
Yeah.
Like, she was going to do whatever he wanted. He was the customer,
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why I said the line is, the problem with, the Karen mentality is retail in the service industry, they've more or less bred Karens to exist, right?
Yes,
Because
I
the
agree.
first Karens, instead of being shut down, were rewarded, which all that means is positive reinforcement. You're going to be a Karen, you get free things, you get more stuff.
Yes.
There's no benefit to being a responsible adult,
Right, right.
And so being an irrational person is rewarded. Being rational, you get less stuff that way. So all that's doing is teaching people be irrational. And so that's why I said the customer's always right, but a Karen is never right. Or the customer's always right, a Karen never is. Which I'm amazed my teacher didn't knock down points for bad
using
language.
that term, yeah.
But I'm like, but at this point, it has become it, which is funny too, because I know 2 people named Karen, and they're both fantastic people.
Yeah.
Everybody
Same.
that I've ever
Everyone
met
I
named
met
Karen is
named
really
Karen is
nice.
fine.
Yeah.
So I don't know
Same.
how they got that name.
I know, which is such a problem, and I feel bad for him because and there was one in one of the stores I used to work in, back in Chicago, and there was a store manager named Karen, and so I was always like, never use the Karen in that store, never referred to a customer as a Karen because I didn't want to offend her.
So you know what the story is? It's a guy, I think it was Vine. He would record his wife and her name was Karen. She would say something, he'd be like, oh, Karen. So then people started saying, don't be a Karen.
Is that where it came from?
Yeah,
I never
years
knew
ago.
where it came
Years
from.
ago. It
I'll have to
actually
fact
was
check- I'll
On
fact
the
check this
Vine.
later.
Fact
Meredith
check
says
it
on the
because-
Vine. The original
On the Vine
TikTok.
or
That was the
yeah,
original
right?
TikTok.
That's where I read. That's where I read it. So everybody go check and fact check me.
Oh, that's so
But I
funny.
did read that's what it was.
And then
it was
post
it was
comments
a
on
husband.
Facebook about it because that's going to boost your ratings on Facebook.
Yes.
I know how this system works.
Yes.
I've taken social media marketing.
Now, I did look to see if I could find the YouTubes, and I couldn't
YouTubes.
find them.
No?
I couldn't find it on YouTube.
In honor of Halloween and the spooky season. Right?
Spooky.
I have a joke for you, Meredith, and I have a joke for Cass.
All right.
Okay, let's hear
So,
it.
Meredith, why do they put seatbelts on broomsticks?
Ooh, I don't know.
So the witches don't fly off the handle.
Very good.
Cass,
So corny.
why is it cheaper to throw a party in a haunted house?
Damn it, I have nothing.
Because the ghosts supply all the booze.
I was really trying to think of something good, but I didn't want to wait too long. I was
So
like,
are these the
'cause
kind of
it's
jokes you would bring
haunted.
to the female coworker that you work with when she says, "But I need it quiet," or whatever,
No,
or no
I-
jokes,
I-
or no dad jokes, or something
Yeah,
she said?
she's actually said, I think since I talked to you last, she has instituted a rule. I have a 6 joke limit a day.
Oh my God.
She's like, you
That
get
is
6
so
a day.
funny.
That's it.
That is
I went
so
to help her
funny.
the one day. I'm like, oh, do you need a hand? She's like, I would love the help, but no jokes. I'm like, all right.
He told me that last
And
week.
I
was
walked
like, oh my
up to her
gosh.
and I was like, what
She's
6
fed up with
letters
you.
aren't used in a VIN? And she's just looking at me like, hey, it's a legitimate question. That's not a joke. There are 6 letters of the alphabet not used in a vehicle identification number.
What is it? Because that's good.
It's the letter O, letter Q, letter I, V, Z, and maybe U, I think.
So the O because it looks like a 0. The Q
Same with the
because
Q
it's
because it
too
looks like a
close
0.
to a 0.
The letter I can be too confused with a 1.
Yep.
A V and a U look too similar, so I think they'll only use V. I don't think they'll use U. A Z they just don't need, but it also kind of looks like a 2.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Droogle.
Yep. I know.
Droogle
I
alert.
know a lot of random crap about a lot of random crap.
I always thought I knew a lot of random crap. You know way more random crap than I do.
I'm the human embodiment of the Snapple cap.
I don't know. I don't know any crap. So when I'm around both of you, I'm just constantly soaking it in. And my old brain is trying to remember everything. And then I go to tell a joke. I'm like, nope, that wasn't the punch line.
So
Never mind.
fun
You're
fact.
like, I got really funny something to tell. No,
Nope,
can't
I
remember.
don't remember.
Actually, there's good news and bad news for you, Meredith. So as far as I've been able to learn through the newest and like neuroscience and everything, right? Human memory is unlimited. It is essentially infinite,
That's a lie.
which means
I can't
you
even
don't
remember phone numbers anymore.
Here's the thing. This is where it gets depressing, right? The human brain is capable of remembering literally everything and anything. But your ability to encode and recall that information is what's bad.
Yeah.
Every memory you've ever made is in your brain. You just can't get to it.
I don't
Yeah.
have a filing cabinet.
I must have a very big brain because I
Have
don't
you
remember
ever
a lot.
watched that Stephen King movie where the aliens come? What the hell is that Stephen King movie?
She's asking me or you.
What the hell
Not
is that
me.
Stephen King movie?
You lost me
It's
at
a really,
Stephen King.
But it's a really good movie.
I got War of the Worlds, and that was
Hold
it.
on a second. Let me look it up.
My only thought was
Take a break.
Gremlins.
That's not Stephen King.
Don't feed him after midnight.
It's not it's Dreamcatcher. Dreamcatcher.
Oh.
Never heard of it.
It's
No.
a very good movie. You should
Wait.
watch it.
Sure
I
it
gotta
is.
ask, what year did that movie come out?
2003.
Oh, so I was alive.
Yes.
Because
you
you know
very
that's the
much.
only reason I was asking.
Thank you very much. I read the book and watched the movie. I think I read the book. I'm pretty sure I read the book. But it's really good. But anyways, the whole brain thing. So these aliens, I'm doing air quotes because you never really know what the monster is, and
sure,
Stephen King kind of, you know what I mean? But it's definitely, they call them the Greys. It's aliens. And they can get into your head, and the whole thing is you got to lock off your brain, right? And whenever it's a scene of in the guy's brain, it's literally filing cabinets, right? And he's like locking the door to the room of the filing cabinets. And he's like, here, you can have these fucking files. And it's just like bullshit that he's got stored in his like old phone numbers, like porn, stuff like that, you know, and like the alien's getting pissed, like, let me into your brain, I need all the information, you know.
But he's locking him out.
He's locking him out.
Wow, Stephen King did his.
Man, is this a wonderful retail podcast or what?
I would never be, but I'm just saying, I do not have that control.
Yeah.
Though then again,
they would have all the information in there. Not that it's much. It's like UPCs and shit.
Oh my gosh. Don't even get me started on that. There's a whole train. Though if Meredith honestly expects me to come on this podcast and not go down like 7 different tangents, I don't know what she was expecting.
Squirrels.
Absolute squirrel.
So can you talk process? I'm very interested in this.
Oh, we're going back to his job.
Yeah, we are going back to his job. And the reason why they knew that is because I pointed at the rice pack. Start, like, how does it look to start? How does it get to the country? Give me start to finish.
So it starts with, we get trucks that come in with our raw materials that get combined. So, you know, we have the soy and the rice, which also the fun, cool thing that I get to do is I get to literally handle a ton of rice, like literally 2,000 pounds of it at a time.
Do you ever want to just jump in it?
Honestly, it is super soft.
I feel like
I haven't jumped in it because that would be
Yeah.
so gross.
Yeah.
I feel like you would suffocate.
And like the big difference here versus the job where we met was, you know, back when I still worked in the deli, and honestly, working in the deli is a lot of what made me start volunteering here in the first place so regularly, was seeing how much food we would get thrown away every day. And so
it is depressing for sure.
At the place where we all met, and this is not an exaggeration, on average, on a typical day, I would throw $300 to $400 worth of food away in one day.
Have you seen the movie Wasted? Not the Wasted that some of you are thinking.
I'm assuming
it's truly
this is
about
about
that.
I was like, you mean looking at the back of my eyelids every
it's
night?
Anthony Bourdain. So you know you have
not.
That is very good.
Because I didn't have.
Look at me with all the movie references
Oh my
today.
gosh.
Whatever it's streaming on, I don't have.
Netflix?
No.
Oh,
Discovery,
maybe it's
Paramount,
like
Disney
maybe
Plus,
it's
like,
HBO Max or
No,
something like
I have
I
that.
got that too.
You told me about it.
Yeah.
And I Googled it, and I didn't have what it was streaming on.
And a lot of countries are working on that, except for this one.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And so, you know, we never waste food. We minimize any, and not
Hulu.
even just.
It's on Hulu.
Oh, I got that too. So
But it's only on Hulu Premium, which is $80 a month. Fuck that.
yeah, no, that I don't have. So I say we don't waste food, which is true, but we truly try to not waste anything, right? Like we are because everything that we buy is purchased with donations from volunteers, right? We don't get government funding or anything like that. So in order to be ethical, responsible stewards of people's donations, we don't want to buy anything that we don't have to, right? And so that comes down to not wasting, right? Whereas the old job where I would just expense report whatever I want, I'm like, they're a $1 billion company. Who cares? They can pay for this.
Yeah, they just write it off on their taxes.
Yeah, whereas here, we're very frugal about it. I mean, we have bags that our food comes in that, and I want to be very clear, once the food's done with it and we're not putting food in here anymore, we'll literally keep them to use as garbage bags so that way we don't have to buy garbage bags. I mean, we save everything that can be saved. So
Everything
we don't,
has a use.
Yeah. And we even have people that come in, like the boxes our food comes in, not the stuff we need to send out, but the stuff that comes in. Those boxes, we have volunteers that come in and they'll bring it to like food pantries and stuff like that, just so those boxes are even still getting used.
Yeah.
So
Everything's getting recycled.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it is literally anything and everything that we can get a use for after we're done with it gets another use, because we try to be as frugal as possible with everything. And so, long story short, I know, too late. No, I've never jumped in the rice, but it is tempting because it's very squishy.
Oh, I forgot I even asked you that.
Yeah.
It's been that long.
That's how that got started. Sometimes I can remember how a tangent starts. So we get the
so
bulk
funny.
ingredients that come in, and then we have volunteers come in and pack the food. And that's kind of like our catchphrase, is that's how we can get the food so cheaply manufactured. Because, you know, you get your car done, parts aren't expensive, it's the labor, right?
Right.
And all of our labor is free. Well, majority of it.
Right,
Obviously,
right.
I'm a staff
Volunteers,
member.
the volunteers that come in, yeah.
But there'll be 4 of us working, but there'll be 100 people packing. So like negligible for labor costs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then that all gets packed up, it gets wrapped and palletized and all that stuff. Then we'll have now pre-COVID, the standard would be 40-foot container truck like you see on cargo ships and trains and whatnot. That'll come to our dock and we'll load it. Now post-COVID with the supply chain problem, and now we're sending these to countries that, if you think our supply chain is bad,
right,
they didn't have one to begin with.
Right.
They might not have roads or trains, or like they have no supply chain.
They're like airdropping pallets of food in.
Which is very rare, actually. But typically, a container truck would come in. It'll go down to Chicago. They'll put it onto a train. Train will send it down to Miami. And then from a ship in Miami, it'll go wherever in the world it needs to go. Strictly because that is the cheapest way of getting it there.
And Miami's like close to a lot of...
Yeah, so our facility ships to a lot of like the Caribbean countries. We have facilities in other parts of the country that, they'll kind of go, we've got one closer to the West Coast. So then they'll do a lot of like the Asian countries because they're already on the Pacific, and it's just easier shipping that way. And so it'll then get shipped to a country. Once it arrives in the country and clears customs, then it's anybody's guess how it gets to its final destination. Again, going back to that frugality with money, we are a food manufacturing facility. That is our specialty. It was very long ago decided it did not make any economical sense whatsoever to start building facilities in these other countries. There are already people in those countries that know what they're doing, know how to get stuff to where it needs to go.
Yeah.
We're going to just partner with them. They already know what they're doing. We're going to let them do it.
Wow.
We're going to handle the food side and make the food. That's what we know how to do and we're good at. We're going to give it to them who knows how to get it to the mouths that need it the most. And that's how we do it. And so
do you get confirmation that it gets to where you wanted it to go?
It depends. So some of the organizations that we work with in the country, they're big enough that they're actually required to kind of send us stories about the children and things like that. So we know it's getting to where it's going. And then there's 2 other options. One is if they're a smaller organization, they might not be able to get an entire truck full of food to themselves, right? And so they'll actually go to those really big ones and they'll go, oh yeah, here's 6 pallets of food. Here you go. Or option 2 is they might get a full truck, but they're so small of an operation that we know it gets there, but that's about it. We don't really know what happens after that. We do have a whole team of people that travel to these countries working with these partners. Like they are thoroughly vetted. These people do what they say they're doing, you know? One of the biggest shocks that I found out was that we'd sent food to Cuba. We'd sent food to North Korea because, again, the whole point, we don't care what religion you are.
Right.
We don't care you're political. You should not die of hunger.
Right.
Full stop.
Was that just recent, those 2?
So I actually sent a truck to Cuba like last week.
Wow.
North Korea, we don't have the ability to get it into the country anymore. And that's the sad thing is we go, if you can assure us and we are confident that food's going to get to where it needs to go, we'll send it. But we're not going to risk sending a container of food if the government's going to take it.
Right.
Because if they were giving their food to their people, we wouldn't be sending you food in the first place.
Right.
And so there's a lot of accountability in the whole teams of people that handle that. But post-COVID supply chain, some trucks that come to us are just to get it out of our warehouse and it gets sent to another one until they can get a container to be able to get the sent to where it needs to go.
Yeah, because I was looking at this. This is good until
it's
October of next year.
Only next year?
Only next year.
Oh, wow.
Is it what you were going to say, 3-year shelf life?
By the way, 2024 is in 2 years.
I thought I saw 24. I'm like, oh, maybe I was wrong.
But yeah, it is a 3-year shelf life.
Maybe my brain put it away and I couldn't remember.
I'm already in 2023. It's October. I'm buying Christmas presents
The bag
already.
is good for 2 years.
This
Oh my
fucking
gosh,
year is over to me, okay?
Oh, that's the horrible part about work. So because so many people don't come there regularly, this isn't a grocery store. People aren't here every week.
Right.
A lot of them are only here once or twice a year.
Yeah.
So we set Christmas like 2-3 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Which me. I can't stand that. But hey, it's what we got to do. And it makes more sense in that instance because I'm like, this isn't a grocery store. We're not going to see him again for 6-8 months.
Right.
It makes sense. Still does not make me any less sad to like start hanging
Which
ornaments.
country takes the longest to get to?
That I don't know.
Yeah.
I can tell you that about 20%, so 1 out of every 5 boxes we ship goes to Haiti.
Okay.
And I mean, Haiti is just, if you want things that'll really...
Haiti are always at war and stuff, right?
Yeah, so the problem with Haiti right now is it's just gang violence. And it's a very... They were starting to do better, and then their president got assassinated, and it just plunged the country right back into chaos. I thought you were going to say
the U.S. stepped in.
Funny you mention that. So we actually do have anybody that's worked there for over a year, they'll actually send them on mission trips to these countries to work with these organizations.
Aren't you scared to do that?
Well, no, because they haven't started them yet, even though COVID's over, that we can start going to these countries and traveling again. They won't send their people unless it's safe. And so they're literally just trying to go, what country is safe enough that we can send a group of 5 Americans? And
because most countries that are safe enough, they're feeding
a lot of it,
population.
Right, true.
Or you really just won't get that full experience of being there.
That's
wow. This is just so amazing.
Yeah,
so happy for you.
It is. It's great. Obviously, crisis in Ukraine, things are not great, right? And we have partner organizations we work with all over the world, and they are all themselves countries that need food. And we had a partner in a country that they reached out to us and said, we see what's going on in Ukraine. They need the food more than us. We will pay you to put it on a plane and fly it there so it gets there faster. Because it can take about 2 months to get to where, especially to Ukraine and halfway around the world with where it needs to go through. And they said that's not okay. That's going to be too long. We will pay you, put it on an airplane and fly it there. Mm-hmm. They need it as soon as they can get it.
That's amazing.
And so we actually had a shipment that got put on a plane and flown to Poland. They broke down the truck in Poland. And then, as best as I can tell, they, as I'm guessing happened, broke it down and just smuggled it across the border into Ukraine so it wouldn't get hijacked. And which is the downside too, because like a lot of people,
disgusting. You have to smuggle food into the country to try to help them.
Yeah, and we have to be really careful about how we talk about it too, because I'm aware of who it is that we're sending the food to.
Yeah,
but I am not allowed to tell anybody about it because it's too dangerous to those people.
Yeah,
they're the only reason food's coming in. We can't talk about it because then it would just paint a giant target on their back. But like I said, a lot of my job, you get to hear about some of the really saddest parts of the world.
Yeah.
But then it's followed up with, but this is how we're fixing it. This is what we're doing to solve the problem. And so that's the part that gets me through the day, is knowing I went to work today. I packed all this food. I'm fixing that problem.
Mm-hmm. So do you see yourself running that place one day?
No, I really don't want to be honest with you. Because I'm an active person. I'm a doer. I'm not a desk jockey. That is not the life for me. I have a little bit of desk work I have to do, and I'm like, that's it. I'm good. Mm-hmm. When I have 2 shifts back to back of desk stuff, I'm like, nope, I am fidgety in that chair. I'm like, I need to be out. I need to be on that floor. I want to be packing this food. I want to be helping. And that's me. I got to be doing something.
Good for you, Drew.
So,
can you tell the CEO story?
There was this little boy who was growing up, I think in Haiti. It was either Haiti or Uganda. I can't remember which one, but he was this little boy growing up, very impoverished. And it was the food that we make that he would get at school. And that's how he lived and became an adult and grew up. Once he grew up, he ended up moving to Chicago and had some office job downtown. And as happens a lot for us is, businesses will send their people and they'll have like a day of service. A lot of times it's like a day of service, right?
Yeah.
And so he went with his company to one of our sites, and pre-COVID, we would cook up a bag of our food and give it to all the volunteers as a sample, so they could kind of have that connection to what they packed. They could know what it tasted like, and it just is the connection point, right? We're humans; we've got 5 senses.
Yeah.
So we wanted to help them with that, right? And a lot of people, they just look at him like, "What does it taste like?" And so we had this sample. He exits. He finishes packing. He goes out and he picks up a sample and he tastes it, and he just kind of like froze. And someone asked him, they go, what's going on? He goes, I know this food. This is the food that was my childhood. This is the food that saved my life.
Oh my God.
Isn't that cool?
That's
and
amazing.
He makes me want to cry, and I already knew the story.
And so he ended up, learning more about the organization because he didn't know too much about it. And he ended up working with us to, I believe he actually started his own charity back in either Haiti or Uganda, whichever one it was. And he started an organization, worked with us on it to bring more food back and to help other kids in his hometown to get this food to grow up, to be able to have a life in the future. And it is just such a heartwarming thing.
It is.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that's what I was talking about. I'm like, I don't know if spooky season's the best time, but we can start prepping you for Thanksgiving.
We can have sensitive spooky season also.
Okay.
So I just want to go back real quick.
And turkey gobble day is coming. So yeah.
Away from the job real quick. I want to talk about your best Halloween traditions really super quick. We're going to end on a little lighter note. So I was looking up like
my best Halloween traditions,
BHG.com, betterhomesandgarden.com.
Okay.
And it's 9 fun Halloween traditions to start with your family this year. I'm not going to read all of them because we're over time. But what is your favorite Halloween tradition?
Having drinks and handing out candy.
Okay. Handing out candy.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
I literally don't have one.
You don't have one. You do not celebrate Halloween.
I do nothing for Halloween.
So I know a lot of people make a big deal about like cutting pumpkins and all that. I do that with my kids, but I don't like it. I also like handing out candy, and I like dressing up. That's my favorite.
I do like dressing up also.
I don't dress up.
But the only reason...
I haven't had a trick-or-treater in literally 6 years.
Yeah, we don't have many here either.
Well, maybe you should turn on your porch light.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you at your mom's house, you mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like a fucking dead-end street.
Well, but here's the thing, right? So one, yes, but...
Spooky dead-end street.
Exactly.
It's too spooky. Nobody wants to go down there.
Well, that's the thing, right? So because it's spooky, we don't trick-or-treat at night.
Yeah.
Right? So it's always like the weekend before or the weekend of, right? So like our Halloween this year would actually be on the 30th.
Okay.
Because it's in the daylight.
Right.
And like there's coyotes. Like you don't want to be walking around at night by yourself, right? So it's during the day. And so everybody that's doing trick-or-treating will put a pumpkin at the end of their driveway so you know we're participating in trick-or-treating. But there's no kids of trick-or-treating age anymore. We had one 6 years ago and they broke our front door. So like that was the last trick-or-treater I had.
Oh my gosh.
So when I first started living with Johnny, we had a ton of trick-or-treaters. Mm-hmm. And as the years went on, they all grew up, right? So then there was a couple years where I only had a few. I'm so excited because we got new neighbors across the street and they have like 4 kids. And I know there's like my other neighbor, her granddaughter will be there. And then she always plays with the girl up the street. So I'm like, yes, I'm going to have trick-or-treaters again this year.
That is exciting. But I'd also like to point out, right? Everyone in my neighborhood, they don't give away like the little candies, right? Like you got like full-size candy bars. We did popcorn balls for 1 year.
Before you go, give me your mom's address. So I can I'll drive right through there.
Like literally last year, my preparations for Halloween was I had like 8 full-size candy bars. I had like some Snickers and some Twix and some Paydays
and no trick-or-treaters.
Yeah, no. So I just ate them all. It's fine.
There we go.
A huge bowl of candy.
You know what? There's my Halloween tradition. November 1st, going to all the grocery stores and getting all the 90% off Halloween candy. There's my Halloween tradition.
We will end it there. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
This was amazing. As a matter of fact, when I was saying that you were back, I was putting it on socials that Drew was back. I did hashtag 3rd time's a charm, and this one definitely was. This one hit it. This is one of my favorites. So, yeah.
What? He's looking at you.
I'm disappointed.
Is it 4 times?
It's just 4.
Well, including the time with your sister.
I don't count that.
Yes.
I'm counting you by yourself.
But I was here.
Its own
but she did all the chatting.
That's its own episode.
Yeah.
This is
so I was really
solo.
I was so excited to hear about the new job and
I know, me too, because I haven't talked to you in so long, and I was everybody at work has been asking, and everybody at work says hi also.
So the coworker you were working with today, I talk to her every now and then. And she called and she's like, yeah, one of the managers was asking if I still talk to you. He's like, oh, how does he love his new job? And she's like, oh, he loves it. And he's like, oh, so he's not coming back then?
Nope.
I was like, no, I love it.
If there's anyone out there that wants to volunteer, email us, theclopeneffect@gmail.com. We will hook you up, but we're not going to say it here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Email us.
If we trust
and we will,
you.
and we will send you the information, but we're going to keep the business confidential.
There's people I know that already volunteer for that.
Does not surprise me.
Yes. I actually see it on the socials that they do. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Actually, I was at my 10-year high school reunion. I can't believe it's been 10 years. And a couple of my classmates are teachers now. And they asked, oh, what do you do? And so I told them, they're like, oh, we're having a field trip there.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
So like it's cool.
Well, thank you for being so giving and for coming on and sharing that.
And it's a perfect job for you because that's who you are, Drew.
It's so great. I love it.
So happy for you.
Yay.
All right, yay!
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Talk to you.
You don't have a deep enough voice for that. Happy Halloween.
I liked that.
This podcast is brought to you by NameTag Productions, LLC. Entire podcast, unless otherwise stated, written by the hosts. Keyboards, written and performed by my daughter Julia. The Clopen Effect, a retail podcast. If we have to be all in this together, we might as well make it fun.